Hey guys, JB here on Drive to Win, obviously here in the beautiful SXM studios at the Wynn Las Vegas. And the show, as always, brought to you by Mobil1 for the love of driving. For the love of driving, for the love of everything. Very happy to have Christian Horner here. Christian, obviously principal at Rebel Racing. It's been a while since I've seen you, mate. It's nice to have you here.
Good to see you. Coming
back into Las Vegas, second year. How do you feel?
Look, it's such a cool city, and it's a great place to be racing. And you have to pinch yourself to think, we're racing these cars down the strip on a Saturday night. Yeah. And I think the second year is going to be better than the first. And the first year there's always an element of learning going on from the promoter side, from the team side, and there's a real buzz about the town and about the race.
Someone asked me earlier about, what's your biggest takeaway from Las Vegas, having been here all through the year doing the show and looking at last year's race. This town, they're fast learners, right? They get it. Then it's not a motorsport town, but looking down in the paddock last night, you wouldn't know because it looks as good as any paddock in the world.
It's unique, this paddock, and the people at the tracks, the amount of guests we've got this weekend is, it's phenomenal, and it's great to see, not just in Vegas but in the US, how popular the sport is becoming. It's phenomenal.
Yeah, when you started out, the thought of 3 races in America.
Yeah.
I mean, commercially, it's good for you, though, isn't it?
Commercially, it's great. I mean, we have so many partnerships now, in the US as Oracle Rebel Racing, obviously with Oracle as a title partner, with, ExxonMobil, with AT&T, with Ford Motor Company. For us, it's phenomenal to have so many, US companies on board.
And they seem to all activate this week. There's like 25 things happening this afternoon on its own. A lot of people don't realize, but I mean, I started in 1987. You came into Formula Ford and Formula Renault.
Yeah, that's right.
At the beginning of the 90s.
Yeah.
A long time ago now.
Yeah.
But you were a winner. You were winning races and
that's
things.
A long time ago. I remember you. I remember seeing you at the Birmingham Super Prix.
Oh, yeah.
Many, many years ago.
You remember I had pole in my little green Ray, and I actually talked about it on a show the other day. I'd never led a race before.
Oh, really?
So that's why I looked in the mirror and went straight in the wall. I was so excited. That was a long time ago. I was thinking about, you said something on your Wikipedia, which is quite funny, that because I had an epiphany when Mika Hakkinen went round the outside of me at Silverstone in the Ray in his little Marlboro-sponsored Vauxhall Lotus. And I remember going, holy shit, I'm never going to be able to do that. You had a similar thing with Montoya, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, Estoril preseason testing for the 98 season. I remember driving out the pit lane in Portugal, and there was a very fast, right-hander at the end of the straight. So as you come out of the pits, and I remember Montoya coming past me, and I just saw this car at an angle that I couldn't even imagine, let alone replicate. And the commitment that he had in this high-speed corner. You could see the rim trying to pop out the side of the tire, and I was thinking, and there's a barrier 10 meters from the side of the track, and I just thought, I just can't do that. My head and foot are too connected. It's
got a brain maybe somewhere in the middle.
I knew at that point that my driving days, I was going to stop at the end of the year.
And then look what it led into. Unbelievable. But also, the Formula One journey's been pretty wild, hasn't it? Because there were those few years, arguably, that, in between the great years when you're like watching Formula One, you go, oh my God, this is dull. And it wasn't just dominance. It was just the sport was just like lackluster.
Yeah.
And now, obviously, Drive to Survive and all those things. Can you believe where it is when you stand back? I know you got one of the biggest jobs in the paddock, but you must stand back and go, crikey, this is...
Oh, it's changed
wild.
Dramatically. I mean, I've been doing this job for 20 years now, and if I look back 20 years to where we are now, it's unrecognizable. I mean, we used to come to the US, nobody'd know who you are. Now, the drivers are superstars, even the team principals are
superstars.
Are getting recognized. And I think that... the owners, Liberty Media, they've done a wonderful job. They've brought some of the emotion and passion and told some of the backstories and allowed people to see who the personalities of the drivers and some of the teams are. And I think that's engaged a new following, a new fandom, a much younger fan base, a lot more girls getting involved and following the sport as well now. And even my 18-year-old daughter is, she's almost quite impressed with what I do.
Yeah, it takes a bit. My daughter's 17, almost 18, and she will argue with my girlfriend over who's the best looking in the paddock. And I told her Charles Leclerc walked past when I was having lunch, and she's like, almost lost it. I mean, she's like, did you get a video? I mean, she says the heartthrob, and I'm going, none of the girls were like that when we were 18. It's crazy. You got to jump back a couple of weeks. Max, in Brazil, just as a fan, what did that mean to you? Just to see, I mean, you got all this other burden of the job, but did you just sit as a race fan and go, holy cow, that was unbelievable?
That day was unbelievable because we were, the weather was horrible. Max was in a league of his own, and we'd taken a penalty for an engine change. Qualifying, the track went red, and he lost, the opportunity to do a time. So he's 17th on the grid in the morning qualifying, and at that point, Lando's on pole, who's his closest rival, and you're thinking, how can it get worse now? And from the moment that race got going, he was just in a class of his own, and it reminded me of Donington 93 with Senna, just watching him go around the outside and just finding grip where others couldn't. And in the end, I think he did a succession of about 15 fastest laps, which was just outstanding. And that for me, again, just endorsed Max Verstappen as one of the all-time greats of this sport. He is a phenomenal talent.
Yeah, I love the way you say it, because I'm watching it, and you just see things as an extra. You go, God, I mean, you see his hands. Yeah. Look what he's doing. Look what he's doing compared to everyone else. Because when people throw around the word dominance, Red Bull, you were dominant. Mm-hmm. I like to say to everyone that everybody, and I pointed out on the show so many times, every member of your team was at Max Verstappen level for those years, right? Your mechanics, they know the pit crew, they didn't screw up one time. That's more than just the one great driver. I mean, I'm going to give you a lot of props here. Your stewardship of it must be incredible. What do you say to the guys when they come and enjoy the team? Join the team. What's the sort of mission statement you give them?
Well, look, I mean, we've got a culture and an ethos within the team. First of all, it's got to be fun. You've got to enjoy what you do, and you've got to have a passion. You've got to be. It's not a 9-to-5 job. You're there because you care and you're competitive. Yeah. And it's an honor and a privilege to wear a Red Bull shirt, and when you wear that shirt, you wear it with pride, and what it represents of when you're representing your team is that everybody doesn't want to let anybody down, and so it's working as a collective, and by having those kind of that philosophy and that outlook, I mean, we won 22 out of 23 races last year, all the races bar Singapore, the first time it had been done since 1988. It proves just how tough it is, and you need everything delivering at the highest level to achieve those kind of results.
We obviously have new rules coming in 26, but someone described to me, and I think it was quite a good thing, when you have an era of new regulations, one team's going to get it right coming out of the box. But the delta will be much bigger. You guys are just still operating pretty much at the same level, but people have caught up, right? It's got smaller as you get towards the end of that run.
Well, you can say always when you have stability, you have convergence, because basically the idea is, a lot of the cars, this car you got in front of me here, a lot of the cars look like that now, as they all converge over a period of time. And I think next year, 25 is going to be immensely close, and then we get a reset in 26 where there's a big regulation change, chassis and engine, first time they've done both elements for 50 years, and that's going to be a game changer. And so suddenly we've got this new power unit, so the fuel's going to play a key role as one of the big performance differentiators, and we're tremendously lucky with ExxonMobil as our partner, that I think we've got the right team behind us, and of course we're producing our own engine, which is a massive leap. As we're taking control of our own destiny, not being reliant on a manufacturer of whether they're going to be there or not in 1 or 2 years' time.
It's going to be exciting, but is a little bit of a role of it's like a six-shot pistol, isn't it? Somebody's going to
get it right, somebody's going to get it wrong, and you just want to make sure you're on the right side. Now we've got a great team and a great strength and depth of talent, and when these regulations came out, the guys got onto them late because we'd been on the 21
Yeah.
project right up until that last race in Abu Dhabi. So he came on to 22 late, and so the car was a little heavy. It was a bit chubby when it turned up at the first race, but you could see the basis of it was quick, and we got the weight out of the car, and the performance started coming.
Yeah, we're pretty much the same age, mature, but still got it
in our prime.
Let's just say that. The technology is mind-numbing.
Yeah.
Do you? I know your job as team principal isn't to understand every element of aerodynamics and have a PhD in every element. How do you stay on top of that? Just, man to man, it's like crazy, right? All these young, brilliant minds.
Yeah, and I think that's the biggest thing that's changed over the last 20 years is just the amount of technology and the amount of simulation that's now done, and the power of those tools. And of course, you got to invest in young talent. You got to get the right people in the right roles. And we have a lot of graduates that come to us. We take about 65 graduates a year, investing in young talent, and it's great to see that creativity and that hunger and passion, and then you match that with the experience that we have in the team, and it's a great cocktail.
Yeah, no, you can see it as an organism that's moving around. What I love about when you walked in the paddock, though, is it, as someone that's been in my whole life like you walk in, you realize it's just the same family of race. It's just different characters, but the same roles, whether it's sports cars, Le Mans, World Rally, right? It's all the same.
It's all the same. You're chasing all the same problems, and understeer and oversteer and traction and brakes and all the drivers. They face all the same emotions, no matter what level you're operating at, and all the fundamentals remain the same. And it's important that you don't disappear down rabbit warrens with the technology. You still have to come back to the basics. The driver is your most sensitive sensor that you have in the car. You got to listen to him.
Yeah. I think about the cameras will all pan on your faces, won't they, on TV when there's a call made or whatever. And it's so funny. All those brilliant minds. You got even someone like Max in the car, and he'll just say, "Oh, it's crap at the front." And I know you can all looking, and his engineer's going, a little more detail. But drivers are drivers, right?
Drivers are drivers, and so he and his engineer, they have a good
interesting.
They have a good rapport, and there's a trust and a faith there between the two of them. And Max is, he's a thoroughbred racehorse that GP, his engineer, is hanging on to the reins of. And there's some lively banter between the two of them sometimes, but it's all done with the height of respect for each other. And sometimes you need that.
Yeah, no, it certainly makes it entertaining. And now, again, that's one of the big positives about social media. I love the F1 TV app, because that's what I prefer to listen to. And you have access to all the radio calls. I really like it. Talk about the young drivers, because, back in the day, we'd walk the track and get on a bike and you'd go around. There weren't even any scooters, really. We'd do that. These young drivers are coming in so prepared. Elite already before they've even had a chance to get to Formula One in so many ways. What do you think is the biggest difference in the way they've prepared for the sport compared to our generation?
I think they're just arriving so much more finished. I think with the simulation tools that there are now, of course, a lot of them are in the gaming world. The huge amount of simulation that they do in the driver in the loop simulators, the confidence they have, the ability to understand data, as well. It's just a different breed. And, it's great to see the young guys turning up, jumping in the car and acquitting themselves really well, whether it's, Liam in the V-Carb car or Ollie Behrman or, Colapinto doing a great job or, it's fantastic to see these young talent getting the chance and looking like veterans when they get in the car.
Yeah, they really are. Colapinto, I'd never even actually heard of him because I don't really follow F2. And then suddenly, geez, he's doing a good job. We're massive fans of Checo on this show. He's what a driver. It's like anytime anyone says anything, you just point out what he's done. You've got to be a bit of an uncle sometimes, a bit of a warm arm around to say, come on, man, you've got what you've got. You know what you can do. It's been a rough year for him.
It has been, and it started so well. He started the season so strongly, and his first 4 or 5 races, tracks like Suzuka, which are high-speed driver circuits, he was the last chicane away from pole position there. It's difficult to understand where the season, went wrong for him. Really from Monaco onwards. And look, we all love Checo. He's a hugely popular member of our team, and he's been such a strong team player for us over the last 4 years. We just want to see him get back to reaching his potential that we know he's capable with, of doing. But this year has been really, really testing for him, and nobody recognizes that more than Checo.
Yeah, well, thanks for sharing that. Let's talk about this weekend. Obviously, last night was a tough night for you guys. Yeah. They're talking about your rear wing or something. Yeah. Any info? I mean, I'm not a news show, but is it just tonight is going to come? It's all bullshit.
It's all bullshit.
Is it?
There's no planes with their wings on them, or our wings anyway. Look, I mean, people run different settings, different engine settings, etc. On Fridays. Our biggest problem yesterday was the temperature and getting the temperature in the tires. Turning the tires on. The driver just said, "We got no grip. We've got no grip," and so that's what the engineers and the guys back in the UK have been working on, over the last 12, 14 hours to say, okay, how can we adjust the car to get these tires fired up in these, really cold temperatures?
Yeah, because that is something that I think is really hard for us to understand as a I put myself into a layman category here, that delta between when a car's running at its peak performance and running towards the back. As Ruth said, it's like 0.6% between the fastest car and the back car.
Yep.
I mean, it doesn't take much to fall off the knife edge.
No, absolutely. And these tires are, the sweet spot of them is so narrow, that window, that operating window. And if you're out of it, you're nowhere. And we saw some cars that were super quick. The Mercedes yesterday, short run, ballistic, long run, hopeless.
Yeah.
And it's going to be fascinating to see how that plays out over the next few hours.
And of course, in the race, we, at least they have the long runs there. You can do the strategy. No way. I mean, I think probability-wise, this is Las Vegas. They're saying there's no way there won't be a yellow in one way or another.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, last year, I thought this was one of the best races of the year. It was so exciting. And with that long straight, I mean, it's a short track, effectively, not many corners. So it's not the most thrilling for the drivers to drive, but in terms of producing a great race, I think we're going to get a big race tomorrow night.
I love that. Max obviously went out and drove the Acura sports car.
Loved it.
He loved it, right?
Yeah, he loved it.
Yeah, I texted Colin Braun, who's, I have worked with him a long time, and I think he's a very fast driver, and I went, go on, tell me, how was he? He went, it was mind-numbingly quick the minute he drove out the door.
Yeah.
Right, because at his level, his senses,
his ability to adapt to any type of car is outstanding, and that inner confidence and belief that he has is, you see it. He loves driving GT cars. He owns a bunch of GT cars personally, and he'll just go and do track days because he just loves driving them.
He's almost unique in that. I think he does more driving than any of the others. You have no worries when he sits up all night and races on the sim, right?
Look, I think the problem is you can constrain these guys too much, and you've got to let them live their lives. And he's old enough to know what's right for him and what isn't. And he loves his sim racing. He's really passionate about it, and you got to look at the upside of it. It's keeping him sharp.
Yeah,
It's not a bad thing.
No.
I mean, the way
he's not out shagging like in the old days. That was our era. I mean, he could be, right?
Speak for yourself, Justin.
Sure, well, okay. I mean, James Hunt, you would have had struggle to get him in the car. No, I think it's obviously a good thing. And when you win on the next day, everyone can zip their mouth.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, I mean, Max is a unique guy. He's just himself. He doesn't, the fame sits uncomfortably with him. He just wants to drive the car and enjoy that experience. He doesn't want to have the adulation and fame that comes with it. And he's just a straightforward guy. He's just a racer, and he just appreciates. You talk to him about all forms of racing. He's so up to speed with GT, with Le Mans, with the junior formulas. He knows everything that's going on.
I can imagine that when it's all said and done, he'll love Daytona, he'll love Le Mans, he'll love rallying, won't he? I mean, I have no doubt. Well, it's time now for the Mobil1 Pit Stop for the love of driving. Christian, some fun little questions. What is your last-minute pep talk to the team before race starts?
Last-minute pep talk. I mean, I always make sure I see the drivers on, when they're in the grid. 5-minute board goes, I make sure I shake their hand. I've done it with every driver I've ever had at every single Grand Prix. So always make sure I'm the last one to wish them luck.
I love that. What track, when you're there and you're seeing the cars go around, an impractical question, but what track makes you itch to have a go again?
Oof. The old classics. I mean, Silverstone's a great circuit. Suzuka, Spa. Some of the classics where you see the cars really stretching their legs, and you think, okay, it doesn't make me want to have a go again, but it makes my admiration for the drivers, even higher.
Love it. What advice do you give young men and women that want to get into the sport?
Just never give up. Just keep writing the letters, keep knocking on the doors. There's so many opportunities in the sport, and you got to follow your dreams. And doors don't automatically open. You got to keep banging on them, and so just go for it. If it's something that you believe in and you want to do, then just follow your dreams.
Great advice. This was asked by a fan on Instagram. Would you like to hear the roar of a V10 again coming down that pit lane?
Absolutely, on fully sustainable ExxonMobil fuel.
Right?
So I mean, it's. I mean, the emissions of these cars have, they're less than a cow, over the course of a year. And I think, Formula One has to be entertainment. And I think what we're seeing with sustainable fuel, with the emissions that they're able to achieve now, zero emission. Why not? Let's go V10, V8, V12 even.
Beautiful noise.
As long as we do it responsibly, I think it just adds to the thrill. It's a bit like going to a rock concert with the volume turned down at the moment. I think we should turn the volume back up.
Crank it back up. My final question, a very important one. People, namely my girlfriend, say that you and I can look quite alike. Do I have your permission to use your name to get a better table reservation?
If it gets you a better reservation, then the very best of luck to you. But I feel quite flattered.
Well, I don't use it the other way around. You get thrown out. Anyway, Christian, thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming on the show. I mean, it's really a big deal. Thank you to obviously Mobil1 for supporting us both. Good luck this weekend, mate.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Good to see you.